Good afternoon, Newton Baseball Club coaches. In this session, I'm going to talk about our hitting approach and things that we use to try to help our hitters become more successful at the plate. In doing so, I have two documents here that I'm going to go over with you. One deals specifically with our vision, rhythm, timing, and approach, and the other one goes into a little bit more detail with regards to our approach. So kind of a general thought, like our hitting philosophy, is that if you cannot see the ball and be on time with the ball, then you cannot hit the ball. So we take a tremendous amount of time to work on our vision, rhythm, and our timing. And I'm not going to go in too much detail with regards to drills or things that we do to try to teach this, but I'm going to kind of just start to create a foundation of how we understand these different concepts. So when we look at vision boils down to recognition of the pitch and when it starts. This is done by reading the pitcher's release point. So, for example, the sooner that we identify what's going on with the pitcher or what kind of pitch is being thrown, then the easier it is going to be for us to decide what to do. Now, always remember one thing in our approach, typically one thing we usually try to get our players to understand with our approach is that when you're in the box, you are deciding when not to swing. You're not deciding when to swing. And I think that's really important to understand is that a hitter gets in the box, no matter what, every pitch that's thrown, they have the mentality of they're going to swing at this pitch. They just need to decide not to swing if it's not a good enough pitch. After the pitch is released, the hitter can also pick up the spin of the ball to identify the type of pitch that it is. Now, one thing that helps us, this is really hard, but one thing we definitely try to work on is if you have a fat wrist, if a pitcher's release point is fat, then we know that it's going to be a fastball. If the wrist is thin, the hands on the side of the ball, we know it's going to be a curve. And if we have fingers on the inside part of the ball, then we know it's going to be a changeup. If the fingers are kind of on top or offset, then we have a pretty good idea that this is going to be a slider. So this, like I said, this is really hard and it takes a tremendous amount of focus in order to do this. But when a hitter is in the box, I mean, they should have some sense of a heightened awareness. The next topic is rhythm. Rhythm is referring to the actions taken by a hitter to be on time with the pitch, and this is what we call our preparation movement. A hitter must get in rhythm with the pitcher. Rhythm begins with the initial preparatory movement. This movement should be slow. As a hitter, you should think about having slow feet, fast hips, shoulders, barrel, slow, go, is one thing that we always say. Examples: high leg kick, rock back or pick up, toe tap, no stride. All of these different things are different rhythms that a hitter can use. When we look at a pitcher and we're trying to get on time or trying to get in rhythm with a pitcher, there's four main loading mechanisms that we use for a hitter while they're trying to get in rhythm with the pitcher. These are four things that every pitcher is going to do no matter what. They're going to break their hands. Their front foot is going to land at some point. Their chest is going to open up when they're getting into external rotation and getting ready to deliver the ball. And then you obviously have the release of the pitch. The slower or longer the load of a hitter, if you're high leg kick or whatever, then you're going to have to start your rhythm or start your preparation sooner than later. So if you are a no stride kind of person and you just kind of load and go, then you may be able to get away with moving or attacking the baseball at release. The quicker or shorter the load, the later the hitter can start. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you should all have short and quick loads. You kind of go, this is a style thing. This is a comfort thing. You go with whatever feels most comfortable with you. One thing that we do have to understand is that sometimes if we're getting beat by a fastball, and this is one thing that we do. If I'm getting beat by a fastball and I'm not starting my preparation until release of the pitch, well, then I have to mentally tell myself that I need to start my swing. I need to prepare when the pitcher's chest opens up. Now, as far as hitting goes, I would say that it is better to prepare early than it is to prepare late. My swing was pretty simple. I didn't have a lot of moving parts to my swing, and I kind of just loaded, kept my hands cocked and ready to go. So that gave me a little bit more freedom. But what I did do is I kind of loaded into my right hip. I kind of loaded into my right glute a little bit sooner, so that once I was loaded and I was just kind of slowly loading, and then I could go at release of the pitch. It just kind of depends. Every hitter is a little bit different. Timing. Timing refers to delivering the barrel on time relative to the timing the hitter is executing. Timing begins with the interior part of the back knee working to the baseball. Timing ends at contact with the ball on time at or around the front foot. The point of contact correlates with what rhythm the hitter is in. Examples of timing. So you have early timing, you have late timing. Early timing hitter will get his front foot down early to be on time with the middle in fastball and to hit the ball in the middle of the early timing, or in the early timing field, which would typically be the pull side. Hitter is responsible for 14 inches of the plate. The middle of his field will be the pull side alley. Will use majority of the time if pitcher's velocity can beat the hitter. Late timing. Hitter will start his stride late when the ball is about halfway to the plate. So the ball will travel and he will be on time with the middle away fastball to hit the ball the middle of the late timing field. With less than 2 strikes, the hitter is responsible for the outer 14 inches of the plate, extended to 3 inches of the plate. Hitter is responsible for 24 inches of the plate with 2 strikes. The middle of his field is the opposite alley. So if you look at gaps in the field, if we're in early timing, then we are trying to hit that left field gap. If we're in late timing, we're trying to hit that right field gap if I'm a right-handed hitter. And then it's the opposite for a left-handed hitter. So that pretty much deals with our timing, our rhythm, and our vision. So how do we apply this to our hitting approach? Well, this is more or less our hitting approach. So our general philosophy with regards to hitting is to keep it simple. Do not try to fix your swing during an at-bat. Have a plan before you step in the box. Mentality is that you are deciding when not to swing, not when to swing. Hit what you're going to get. So, for example, one thing, we really try to hunt fastballs, but if we're facing a pitcher who's not going to give us a high percentage of quality fastballs, well, then we're going to have to hunt off-speed pitches. And that's happened before where, sometimes a pitcher's fastball is better than we are. And so we feel more confident. Well, let's just go after off speed. So then we just load late and we gear up for off speed. This doesn't work every time, but at least it gives you a plan and gives you an approach. If you don't have an approach and you go up to the box looking for everything but ready for nothing, well, then it's not going to be a very good approach. So we try to make sure that we at least, kind of simplify our approach so that we at least have the greatest opportunity to be successful. So different types of pitchers are going to require different types of approaches. Every time we get into the box, all we're thinking is see the ball, see the ball, see the ball. Think small, think ball. These are really important phrases that we use when hitting. Approach to a firm pitcher meaning their velocity is pretty good. Then we're going to be in early timing mode. So everything that we do with our rhythm and our timing is going to be predicated off of us trying to hit the ball to the left center gap or the pull side gap. The type of pitches that we're attacking. So obviously if we're doing this, and that means we're looking to attack 14 inches of the plate, the 14 inner half inches of the plate. So that last 17 inches on the outside, we're going to spit on that. We're not going to chase that. When we hunt fastballs, we want to hunt fastballs in our shorts because we have a greater ability to keep our hands above the baseball if we're thinking about hunting fastballs that are in our shorts. We're not going to hunt fastballs that are outside of our shorts with less than 2 strikes because that means that ball may get above our hands. And if any ball that gets above our hands, then that means that we are going to pop the ball up. And we don't want pop-ups. We want line drives. Approach to a soft pitcher meaning the thumber or somebody whose velo isn't very good. We're going to be in late timing mode, which means our mentality is focused on hitting the ball to the opposite field gap. For me, it would be the right center gap. Green light approach. If we have a pitcher who we know is going to pound the zone with a tremendous amount of strikes, that means that they're probably going to use a lot of fastballs to do this. So we're going to be aggressive to that pitcher, and we're really going to hunt early, especially if they're a two-pitch mix pitcher, where they will use their off speed in the back end of a count instead of using their off speed early in a count. So we may have a green light approach where it's like, we're hunting early, like we're hunting fastballs early. Red light approach this is where we try to avoid letting a pitcher become effectively wild. So you have those pitchers who they don't pound the zone as well. For example, that maybe they struggle to get strike one. Well, then we'll take a red light approach, which means sometimes we're going to take until we get a strike, or we're going to take until we get 2 strikes. This approach is for a pitcher who is a little bit wilder than normal. 2-strike approach. We try to keep it simple in our 2-strike approach and try not to do too much to change hitter swings. We also try to allow a little bit of freedom here. But one thing we do know is that in a 2-strike approach, we're no longer responsible for 14 inches of the plate. We're not even responsible for 17 inches of the plate, which that's how wide a plate is it's 17 inches. We are responsible for 24 inches of the plate. So that means instead of hitting with a 17-inch plate, we're now hitting with the mentality of a 24-inch plate, meaning we have to protect. We got to protect the corners. We got to protect a ball, at least one baseball off on each side. And if we get a called strike that's 2 or 3 baseballs off, well, then that just is what it is. There's nothing we can do with that. Okay. Just tip your cap, move on. You should, a lot of times we say strikeouts, they don't happen because of strike 3. Strikeouts typically happen because of strike 1 and strike 2. We do believe that you do have to cut your swing down just a little bit. And so a starting point for us is that we tell players to widen their feet. That's an initial approach for us to start a 2-strike approach. So if you've got a big leg kick, when you've got 2 strikes on you, you don't have a big leg kick anymore. If you're a step back and go guy, well, then you're not going to be a step back and go guy. Like you need to simplify your swing. Other things that players can do to try to simplify their swing even more is they can choke up, or they can have their hands set sooner, or they can just go ahead and pre-cock their hands. Like some players like a little bit of movement. They like a little bit of freedom as they work to swing. Well, this way they can just kind of preset their hands and just have them ready to rock and roll so that they can just kind of pick their foot up and go. These are things that we're going to do. Now, a lot of times timing wise, we're going to be, if we are in with 2 strikes, depending on the count, meaning let's say we're 0-2. Well, we're going to be 0-2 with late timing because we want to protect against off speed. If we're 1-2, we're still going to be in a late timing. If we're in 3-2, and let's say that there's runners on first and second, well, we have a pretty good idea that we're going to get a fastball. So we want to make sure that we are in early timing. It's just a matter of understanding your situation and being adjustable in your swing. And these are things that we have to practice. Like we have to practice these types of things when in our BP sessions. Approach with a runner on third, probably one of the hardest things to do as a hitter. I don't know why it shouldn't be, but when there's a runner on third base, for whatever reason, people tense up. And I understand this, but part of the reason why they're tensed up is because in that particular moment right there, you become so results focused. And you feel the pressure of having to do something instead of just executing your task or becoming task focused or task oriented. So we try to simplify this a little bit. With the runner on third base, you are hunting a first available fastball in your shorts. And you're adjusting your timing based off the pitcher. Our primary goal in this situation is to put the ball in play. When you get 2 strikes, you need to switch to a 2-strike approach. but it's no different than any other approach. And then probably maybe if we're in a green light approach, you could almost say like our runner on third approach is a green light approach. The difference here is that I would say in our first available fastball and our shorts, another thing that should be preferenced here is that we're looking at 17 inches of the plate. Instead of 14 inches, we're looking at 17 inches. So if you can stretch 5 baseballs across the plate, that means we're wanting to hit 5 out of 5 baseballs as opposed to hitting 4 out of 5 baseballs. So you expand the zone a little bit. You still stay in your shorts until you get 2 strikes. And then you're looking to hunt fastballs with the runner on third base. Now, you also have to look at the situation and decide, okay, what am I going to do with this particular situation? Is the infield back? Well, if the infield's back, well, you're looking to hit the ball on the ground. If the infield's in, well, then you're looking to hit the ball in the air. So that's also going to change where you look on the baseball. Are you looking at the top half of the baseball? Are you looking at the bottom half of the baseball? Are you looking through the center of the baseball? So some of that is going to be predicated off of the situation. Now, there's a lot of thinking that goes on here, and I think what's important is that when a player, regardless, whatever happens at the plate, whether you execute, don't execute, strike out, get a hit, whatever, when you get back into the dugout, every hitter must create some type of an approach for a release. And when I say release, I mean you have to release that tension, or you have to release that frustration that you may have, because we definitely don't want to carry any mental bricks. If I'm sitting there thinking about my last at bat and how I looked like a dunce in my last at bat, well, then I can't carry that mental brick out to play defense, and I can't carry that mental brick into my next at bat. I have to flush it. I have to flush that failure. After an unsuccessful at bat, do not be emotional, be rational. Instead of degrading yourself, ask this series of questions. Number 1, did I see the ball? Number 2, what was I trying to do? Number 3, what went wrong? And number 4, what am I going to do next time? So if I'm in an at bat, so step 1, did I see the ball? Yes, I did see the ball. Step 2, what was I trying to do with my at bat? If I can't answer this question, well, then I didn't have a plan. And if I don't have a plan, well, then I'm just going up there and swinging freely, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to have a plan of what you want to do. Number 3, what went wrong? I need to be able to evaluate what went wrong with my at-bat. Maybe what went wrong was pitch number 1 was a really good pitch, and I didn't take a good pass at that pitch, or I didn't take a pass at all at that pitch. And then I ended up behind. That could be something that went wrong. What went wrong? Maybe if I felt out front. So if I'm heavy on my front side and I didn't have good balance, then I need to figure out some way to create better balance. Maybe that's changing my timing to where I get into a little bit more early timing and get settled into my legs better. Or maybe I'm preparing too soon. Maybe I'm preparing too late. And then what am I going to do next time? And right here, when we talk about what am I going to do next time, this is where we're evaluating. Our task-oriented goal. So the next time I get into the on-deck circle, if I say that I was too early, well, then I'm going to tell myself mentally, take a deep breath, find my focal point, start when I see the chest. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about is just start when I see the chest, or I'm going to start when I see release out of hand. Any one of those primary checkpoints could be used, but you have to be able to make adjustments from one at bat to the next. And a good way for us to make adjustments is at least have a series of questions that you can go over with yourself when you come into the dugout. And then you can check yourself. You can check those questions with your teammates. You can look at my teammates. Like if you feel like you know what went wrong, ask a teammate, say, hey, this is what I think went wrong with my at-bat. What do you think? And then your teammate will be honest. And maybe they'll even give you more information than you want. But at least you have an ability to dialogue what's going on with your at-bat. And if you don't think that big leaguers don't do this, they do all the time. You see him in the dugout. A guy gets done with his at-bat. He takes his helmet, he puts it away, puts his bat away, and he sits down. And you see them sitting down with their teammates talking about their at-bat. Okay, so this is part of thinking the game. This is part of like being a student of the game. And these are things I would strongly suggest or I strongly encourage your players to do. at least pick one question. If anything, pick the question of, did I see the baseball? And if your kids can answer that question, like, okay, let's move on to the next question. What were you trying to accomplish with that at bat? I don't know. Well, you need to figure it out. You need to figure out a plan for each at bat. So these two documents that I shared with you, they're going to be, I'm sending them out to the NBC board. They should have all this information like all the other information, and you should be receiving different clips of these videos. And yet again, these are all questions that you can have for me when we do get together, and we'll probably get together more than once, but I at least want to give you some knowledge so that you can kind of chew on it a little bit, digest it, and then feel like you are going to get questions answered that you want to get answered. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and watch this video and talk with me, and I look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.